one, for this project you're going to need 1/4 inch wide metal strip, 2 pieces. These are cut down to size. In my case, they're about 1 3/4 inches long. You're going to need prepared focal beads. These are about 2 inches long. These are just beads strung on a wire with loops on both ends. You're also going to need chain or jump rings, a permanent marker or ink with cotton swab, and a bracelet clasp. You don't see in the image the ink marker or bracelet clasp. As for the tools that you're going to be using, you're going to use a number metal stamp set, a dot metal stamp, a bench block with an optional cushion, brass hammer, hole punch, 2 pliers that you're going to use to open the chain or jump rings, open and close them. You're also going to need a ruler, a metal file, and what you don't see here, a rubber mallet, steel wool, polished powder cloth, and bracelet bending pliers or anything similar. So the first thing I'm going to do is, or the first thing I did was, I'm going to punch holes on both ends of the aluminum strips that I had already cut out. What I do is I just cut one hole on the end of one of them, and then I'm going to use that to measure out where I'm going to put the hole on the other end. Once I have, you can do both holes on one strip and then measure out. I just did one hole first and then the first hole on the other one, and then I just went back and did the same thing. These are completely eyeballed. I didn't mark them or anything at all. I just did everything by eye. Usually I like to mark where I'm gonna have the holes, but in this case I just didn't do that. So that's it. I have both holes on both ends. Once I've done that, I'm going to measure out the center of these strips. You can measure end to end, but what I did was, I'm not quite sure why I did it that way. I think it was because I wanted to center off where the stamps were gonna go. I just used I measured from edge of one hole to the edge of the other hole, and I, marked the middle on that. And then what I did was I used that pencil mark to just mark the other aluminum strip, as you can see here. Once I've done that, that's when I'm gonna start stamping. Now you can see at the top of the screen, these are number stamps, so just to avoid the issue with the letters, I just set them out from 1 through 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and I started stamping. The stamp that you see that's sort of like laying across, that's the 6-9 stamp, which you can turn around. Now I got these metal stamps online from Wish. I wanted to get a set from a store that I buy from, but I just needed something, cheap. I needed something inexpensive, but unfortunately these were cheaper. Okay, as you can see, when I stamped, it bent a little, so I'm gonna use a rubber mallet to sort of straighten that out. And just hit it. This is like my hardware rubber mallet. You can see it has a little bit of has some wear and tear on it. Once I did one stamp, I did the same thing with the other stamp. So what I was saying about the number stamps from Wish is that the numbers are offset. They're not centered as the letters in my alphabet stamp. So I was really disappointed. But in a way, that's the second aluminum strip, which is also bent and I need to straighten out. In a way, it does give it a sort of whimsy look, because no matter how straight you put your stamps, because the numbers are offset on the stamp, they're just gonna look crooked on the on whatever you stamp. And there we go. That is, these are coordinates. I don't know if I mentioned that. Once I stamp, I'm just gonna clean it with a little bit of steel wool. As you can see, no, I don't remove it from the plastic bag. I don't need all those little pieces of steel wool all over. So I just pull a little bit out and I just keep using, and I keep the rest of it in the plastic bag. You can't really see here, but there is a difference. You clean it up, and because of the stamping and the hole punching, it just makes it nice and smooth. As for ink, I use vintage patina. I think it's called ebony, and I use the cotton swab to apply it to my metal stamping. I actually prefer the vintage patina to the permanent marker. It's a personal choice. I use the cotton swab. There are times when you have to kind of like dab it so that it does get in there. Once that's, it dries pretty quick, and you can just use the steel wool in my plastic bag to simply just wipe it off. And it actually makes it pretty good. It marks it pretty good. So for now, I'm gonna keep using that because I actually prefer it to the permanent marker and I like it. Okay, now as you can see here, my numbers are, you're gonna see it later on. The numbers on the 72.67, right there, there's like a big space. It's because I was supposed to add another number to the end. And then as I started stamping, I just changed my mind, as always. Changed my mind, so then I have this big space to the left. That was completely my bad. Once I have that, I'm going to use my bracelet bending pliers. Now, I did work off screen a little. I apologize for that. I'm going to use my bracelet bending pliers, and I'm going to bend the strip towards the middle. And then what I do is I bend the ends, and then I just run it through from end to end. So I bend the middle, then I bend one end, then the other, and then I just bend end to end just to give it like another firm bending, or just to make sure it's a smooth curve. Exactly, that's what I want. So I did that on one of the strips, and of course you repeat it on the second strip. Still working it there from end to end. See, I'm working on this camera and focusing, so. Okay, there you can see then what I added the patina. It sort of got on the edges. Steel wool, and you can just remove that. It's super, I love it. Me and my clumsy fingers, we're going to use the 2 pliers to remove some of the loops from the chain, and I'm going to attach 1 loop to each end of the curved aluminum strips. Here, in the back when you stamp, you always get like a little marring from the stamp. Completely forgot to get rid of that. And so that's what I was doing there. First I hit it with steel wool, and then I hit it with a polish pad. Doesn't remove it completely. When I use, when I do the stamping, I usually cover the back. But in this case, I didn't want to cover the back, so steel wool and a polish pad will get rid of those. And it actually looks good. You can't really notice it as much as when you don't treat it. So here I am with me and my clumsy fingers. Even with the pliers, I suck at this. So as I said, I'm going to be attaching 1 loop to the end of each aluminum strip. And also I'm going to attach the focal beads. You want to make sure, well, at least I wanted to make sure, depending on what you write, that you have the numbers facing the right way and from left to right, or wherever, or however you want it. In my case, of course, I wanted it left to right. I wanted a certain one on the left and a certain one on the right. Measuring here. Okay, so once you measured, as you can see, the focal beads are like very straight. So what I did was I took the focal beads and I also bent them a little just so that they can have that circle shape. Once I measured it around my wrist, I sort of like, how much chain am I gonna need? And approximately, I calculated in my head very badly that I was going to need about it was 5 loops per side. So I went ahead and I removed 10 loops from the chain, and I attached 5 loops to the one edge of the aluminum strips that didn't have anything, and to the other edge. Once I have that, I took a bracelet clasp. It was a toggle clasp that I had. I hit it with steel wool. I know I steel wool everything. I did some steel wool, and I also did a polish pad quickly on it. It was I mean, it was new, but you know, I don't know, I guess I'm used to it. Once I measured, I realized that I'm still attaching here the clasp. Okay, my fat fingers. But let me just skip ahead with this. So when I measured, you're gonna notice that the bracelet was a little big on me, at least too big for my taste. You see it's like all the way down there, and I'd like them to go a little bit higher. So what I did was I removed loops, and instead of ending with 5 loops on each end, I took 4 out, so I mean, well, 4 total, 2 on each side. I ended up with 3 loops on each end. So I had to redo that, and then I just reattached, and I actually like the way it looked. I don't know, I really like it. I hope you do too. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know if you make this. If you do, share it with me. You can share it with me through Instagram or Twitter, and it's @thatnewmommy.